welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a pair of earrings. I'll be bezeling a couple of 8mm chatons. Let me go over the materials real quick with you. These are a couple of 8mm chatons from a recent order I had from BB Craft, and then everything else is from my bead stash. So you're going to need some 15-0 seed beads. I've got these galvanized gold. You're also going to need some size 11 delicas, and this color is called dark green metallic iris. Then I have some 11-0s in galvanized gold, and you're going to need a couple of short pieces of chain. This is a very thin chain, but you want to make sure that the hole's big enough for a jump ring to fit through. I've got two 5mm jump rings, two ball head pins, a couple of earring hooks, and my wire guardians. I've also got two size 12 beading needles, and I'm going to be using 6-pound fireline and smoke. For tools, you're going to need some wire cutters, and you're going to need a couple of pairs of flat nose pliers, and you're also going to need a pair of scissors. And I'm also going to be using a handy crimping tool. Actually, I've got two different crimping tools I'll be using today. So that's what you're going to need for today's project. I'll have links in the description box where you can find some of these items. And also, if you click more below this video, you'll get all the details, including a link to my website. So let's get started. I'll clear my area and we'll start bezeling away. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to cut a piece of fireline about 36 inches long and place a stop bead about halfway down. And we're going to start by picking up 20 of our delicas. And the rule of thumb on the bezeling diameters, if you're not sure, if you know the diameter of your stone, for example, mine today is a 8mm. If you take your 8mm, so I'm going to take 8 and multiply that times 2.5, that will tell you how many delicas that you need. The other way to verify this is you just want to double check to make sure that the circumference is fitting your stone perfectly. So I have 20 delicas on my thread. I'm going to go back through these two beads here, form a circle. So I'm going to place that over my 8mm chaton, and you want to have just enough delicas to surround your crystal without being too small. If you notice that it's not quite enclosing your chaton, then you'll probably need to add 2 more delicas if you have a larger stone. But for mine today, I'm going to be using a count of 20. So now that we have our circle done, we're going to start doing our peyote stitch. So I'm going to pick up my next delica, coming out of this delica here, and I'm going to skip the next one and go into the next one. Like that. And I want to pull that so that the delica is stacked like that. So I'm going to go on to the next one, pick up another delica, coming out of this one, skipping the next one, and going into the one after. And pull. Just pull that nice and snug. And if you have to, you might need to pull your thread, tail thread, so just make sure that they're stacking like this. So I'll pick up another one. Okay, I'm exiting this delica here, skipping this one, going into the next one. So that's what you should have. We'll do one more. Pick up another delica, coming out here, skipping this one, and going into the next one. So I'm going to continue going all the way around, and I'll meet you when we get to the end. All right, I'm coming down to my last portion here. I've got my delica I just picked up. I'm exiting here and skipping this one. I'm going into this next one and then up on the diagonal to step up. And that completes my first row. And at this point we can take our stop bead off. So from here, I'm going to switch over to 15-0s. So let me get those and we'll go on to the next step. For our next step, we are going to pick up a 15-0 in gold, and I'm exiting this delica, and I have a space here and then the next delica. So I'm going to put my gold bead right in between and pull. Going to pick up another 15-0, exiting this delica, going into the next one. And I want to pull. As I'm pulling, I'm going to hold my thumb down, kind of make it curve up a little bit. So now I'm going to pick up another 15-0, exiting this delica, skipping this one, going into the next one that's sticking up, and pull. Pick up another 15-0, going to the next sticking up delica. And we're going to do that all the way around, and I'll meet you when we get to the end. I'm coming down to my last delica where I need to add a 15-0 in gold, exiting here. We're going to go into the next sticking up delica and then up on the diagonal on the 15-0 that we just added right there. So now we're going to set our needle down, and we're going to use the tail thread. So go ahead and thread your tail thread with another needle so that we can work on this side. So right now my thread is coming out of this delica right here. So I'm going to add a 15-0, pick up a 15-0 in gold. And I'm going to go into the next delica that's sticking out. And pull. We're going to pick up another 15-0 in gold, going into the next delica that's sticking up. And it's going to be a little tight, so you want to make sure this is snug as you're adding each bead. So kind of pull it towards the center. Get those beads to pop in place like that. So I'm going to continue adding, picking up another gold, exiting here, going into the one that's sticking up that follows, and pull. So you're going to continue doing that all the way around till we get to the end, and I'll meet you back for the next step. All right, I'm coming down to my last space here, and it's pretty tight, so I've got my last 15-0, exiting this delica here, the green delica going into the next green delica. And then I'm going to step up into the gold bead on the diagonal, like that, and pull. And try to push that bead into place. So that completes that step, and that's the direction that our chaton is going to go facing this way. So now we're going to set this needle down and go pick up our other needle and continue bezeling the back. So we're going to go back to picking up another row of 15 O's. So I'm exiting this gold bead, and I'm going to go into the next gold bead, like that. And pull. So you notice it's starting to form a little cup. So we're going to continue adding 15 O's in gold, exiting this gold, skipping the delica, going into the next gold. And I'm going to do that all the way around. All right, I'm coming down to the last 50 now I need to add. Exiting this gold bead, going into this one, and then going up on the diagonal. So at this point we're going to put in our chaton, and I'm going to put it with the right side facing down, like that. So now we're going to tighten this up. You want to make sure that that's centered. So from here, I'm going to reinforce this last row I put in. Make sure my chaton's facing down and centered, and just hold that with your thumb in place. Try to keep that straight. So I'm exiting this 15 O here. I'm skipping this one, going into, actually, we're going to come down this 15 O right next to the one we just exited, and pull. Now I'm going to go through the next two 15 O's in gold, like that. And as you pull, it's going to start to tighten up that circle and try to keep your chaton straight. Going in through the next two gold seed beads. And if your chaton shifts, just try to straighten it out. Go through the next two and pull. And we're going to do that all the way around until we get to the other side. I'm coming down to the end here, and as you can see that it's tightened up as I've come around. I just want to come through these last two here. And pull nice and snug. Come through these two. And pull. All right, so from here I'm going to pick up another gold because I want to kind of cover this up. So just make sure that's centered. I'm going to pick up a gold 15 O. I'm exiting this one here, I'm going to go in through this next 15-0. And now I'm going to go through these next 3 and pull. I'm going to pick up another 15-0 in gold, going through this next 15-0 and pull. Now I'm going to go through these next 3. I'm going to pick up another 15-0, exiting here, going into the next 15-0. Now I'm going to advance through these next 3. So I'm going to pick up one more 15-0, going in through this next one that's sticking out and pull. So that's what I have so far. So now I'm going to pick up one and just try to get this closed in. So I'm going to pick up another 15-0. I'm exiting here. I'm going to skip these 3 in the middle and go into this one here. Pick up another 15-0. Skipping these 3. I'm going to go into this next one here. Just make sure that sits in the middle. Pick up another 15-0. Skipping these next 3, I'm going into this one. Pick up another 15-0. Skipping these next 3 and going into this one here. Now I'm going to go around and I'm going to connect from here to the one that's sticking out and kind of pull, and that's going to kind of draw this together. Do the same thing, going from here to the one that's sticking out and pull. Exiting here, going into the one that's sticking out and pull. I'm going to do that all the way around. Okay, so I kind of got that drawn together so there's not so much of a point back there. So from here, I'm going to do some embellishing. So let me get my 11-0s. We're going to switch to 11-0s in the galvanized gold. And we're going to do what's called stitch in the ditch. So using this thread here where we were working on the back, we're going to weave our needles so that we're coming out of a delica that's in the center. Notice that you have 2 delicas here and 1 delica here. You want to be coming out of a single delica to start this step. So I'm just going to advance my thread. And it doesn't matter which direction you go as long as you're coming out of a center delica. And I'm advancing to this bead right here. Notice that that's in the middle. All right, so from here, I'm coming out of this center delica here. I'm going to pick up an 11-0. Skipping these 2 delicas here, I'm going into the next single delica right there. That's going to position a 11-0 on the outer edge. So we're going to pick up another 11-0, exiting this single delica, skipping the double, going into the next single. We'll do that again. Exiting here, going into this one. And you're going to do that all the way around. All right, I'm coming down to my last 11-0, coming out of this single, skipping the double, and going into this last single right there. So from here, we are going to add a wire guardian. So our thread is coming out of that single. We're going to advance up through this 11-0 that's sticking out. So from here, we're going to go back to our 15-0s. And we're going to add a wire guardian. So I'm coming out of this 11-0, I'm going to pick up a 15-0, my wire guardian, I've got two on my hand here, I only need one. So we're going to go through, pull that down, and I want to position this so that my wire guardian is centered. So I'm going to come back down the other side and make sure that thread lands in the channel like that. Pick up another 15-0, and we're going to go in through the 11-0 on the other side. And just pull that snug. So that's what you should have. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back through and reinforce this a couple of times. So I'm coming out of this 11-0. Here I'm going to come down through one of my delicas like that. Now I'm going to come through the delica that's in the center, and I'm going to try to come from the other direction, and my thread came out of the channel, so I want to make sure and fix that. So reposition that, pull. I'm going to bring my needle from behind so I can get through this bead in the middle here. And then I'm also going to advance through the delica after that. So now I can go back up through my 11-0, my 15-0, and the wire guardian. Come back down like that. Pull, make sure that thread sits in the channel. And we're going to reinforce that one more time, and then I'll meet you for the next step. Okay, now that we've got that reinforced 3 times, what you're going to do with this thread is you're just going to weave around, and we're going to cut this thread off. So I'm coming out of the 11-0 right here. I'm just going to advance through the delica behind it. And I'm going to try to travel to the back. So I'm going to flip this over, and now I'm just going to weave my thread through a few beads like this, come back up these 15-0s, then back down these delicas again, then down through a couple of more 15-0s, then up this delica and this 15-0, and I'm going to cut my thread right here. So now we're going to take our other thread and right now our thread is coming out of this 15-0 on the front. So I want to weave my thread down so that I'm coming out of one of these 11/0s right here, like that. All right, so I'm just going to skip around, come down this delica, through this 15/0, through the next delica, through the 15/0. Now I'm coming through the delica, and then through this delica and the 15 or the 11/0. Might have to do that in 2 steps. It's pretty tight here. So now I'm going to bring my thread through the 11/0. So from here I'm going to pick up 5 15/0s, and I'm going to bring my needle through the 11/0 directly next to it and pull. Now I'm going to reinforce this by coming back through this delica here, through this delica, and the next one. And I'm going to come back through the 11/0 and the 5 15/0s to reinforce. So that should be pretty good. So from here we're going to just weave this thread around to the back like we did. Weave it through a few beads and then clip that thread off, and we'll go on to the next step. All right, for our next step, now that we've got our threads trimmed off, what we're going to do is we're going to add a dangle with a chain to this portion here. And I failed to mention for the supplies, you also need a couple of 4mm bicones, and I'm using these in it's kind of a green with an AB finish to it. I think that will really look nice with the green metallic delicas. That'll really make it pop. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 4mm bicone and pop that onto one of the ball head pins, like that. And we're going to do a wire wrap. And so you're going to need some round nose pliers to do this step. So I'm just going to position my round nose just above the stone and near the end of the tip, because I want to make a really small loop. So I'm going to bend this 90 degrees like that. Then I'm going to rotate my pliers up, and I'm going to pull that wire towards me and down towards the table. Now I'm going to rotate my pliers towards the table and pull this wire back. And I want to open this loop big enough to get the chain on. So I've got about 10 links on this chain because I don't want the earrings to be too terribly long. So I'm going to feed this onto my wire here, my ball head pin. And now I'm going to hold this with some very skinny pliers, and I'm going to wrap this wire around a couple of times. See if we can get the chain out of the way. So it's kind of an awkward way to hold, but we'll get it done. Okay, I'm going to pull this around like that a couple of times. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just want to be careful not to crack your crystal. All right, so I'm going to clip the extra piece of wire off here with my wire cutters. As close as you can get. Get this chain out of the way. All right, so now that we've done that, I want to make sure and squish down that sharp edge. So I'm going to hold this loop with some skinny pliers. Then I'm going to take my crimping tool and just try to come around that first notch, very gently squeeze to get that sharp edge in. So there's our little dangle. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take one of our jump rings, and the thing you have to keep in mind with chain this small, you want to make sure that your jump ring wire gauge is thin enough that it will fit through the chain. So I'm going to feed this through like that, and now I'm going to loop this around the 15-0s at the bottom here, and we're going to close this. So now I'm going to take my ear hook and open that, put that at the top. So when you open this, you want to open this towards you like that, and then we want to make sure that the front of the bezel is facing the front of the earring hook. And we're going to close the loop. And there's our completed earring. So I'm going to do the other one off camera and then we'll wrap it up. All right, here are our completed beautiful bezeled earrings. Aren't those gorgeous? This concludes today's tutorial. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and thank you for joining me today. There will be links in the description box below with the different items used in today's tutorial. I also have a website where I sell my own jewelry, and check it out because I also run periodic sales. And if you're not a subscriber, I hope that you do subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. That would really help me out and I'd appreciate it. For those of you that have subscribed, thank you so much for coming back to watch my videos. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Happy beading, and see you next time.